On a warm August night in Bali, a taxi driver waited patiently outside a luxury resort. He was told a young couple would return shortly to check out. But hours passed, and the couple never came back. In the trunk of his cab sat a heavy suitcase. Something about it felt wrong. When the police opened it, they were met with a gruesome discovery: the body of a wealthy American woman, stuffed inside like discarded luggage. What followed was a story of privilege, betrayal, greed, and a crime so shocking it gripped both the United States and the United Kingdom. A life of privilege. Sheila von Wiese-Mack wasn't just another tourist in Bali. She was the widow of James Mack, a well-known jazz composer. Born into privilege, educated, and well-connected, Sheila moved easily through Chicago's elite social circles. She was known for her grace, her intelligence, and her passion for the arts. But most of all, she was known as the devoted mother of her only child, Heather. Friends described Sheila as patient, generous, and determined to give Heather the best life possible. But behind the gates of their Oak Park mansion, neighbors whispered of constant chaos. Police logs revealed over 80 domestic calls to their home in Heather's teenage years: fights, shouting, violence. The world saw a perfect mother-daughter pair. Inside, their relationship was toxic, volatile, and spiraling out of control. A troubled daughter, Heather Mack, grew up in privilege, but she didn't embrace her mother's polished lifestyle. She was rebellious, often defiant, and constantly clashed with Sheila. By her mid-teens, Heather had dropped out of her private school and surrounded herself with new friends her mother disapproved of. It wasn't long before she met Tommy Schaefer, a young man from Chicago's South Side with dreams of becoming a rapper. To Heather, he was freedom. To Sheila, he was trouble. When Heather became pregnant with Tommy's child, Sheila's disapproval hardened into rage. She threatened to cut Heather off financially. What she didn't realize was that her resistance would soon cost her life. Paradise beckons, and 2014, Sheila proposed a trip to Bali. For her, it was a chance to repair her fractured bond with Heather. She booked the 5-star St. Regis Hotel in Nusa Dua, complete with private villas and lush gardens. Sheila believed that distance from home, combined with the serenity of Bali, might heal their relationship. But Heather had a different plan. She secretly arranged for Tommy to join them. To Sheila, it was an ambush. To Heather, it was a declaration of independence. Tensions in Bali from the moment Tommy arrived. Hotel staff noticed the tension. Sheila was furious. She confronted Tommy, accused him of using her daughter, and demanded he leave. Witnesses later described heated arguments echoing through the luxurious corridors. At breakfast, Sheila looked exhausted, while Heather appeared smug and defiant. Hotel security footage showed Sheila storming out of the lobby, visibly distressed. The trip meant to heal their bond was unraveling before their eyes. Then comes the fatal night on August 12, 2014. Heather sent Tommy a text message from her room: "Come up. Mom's acting crazy." Minutes later, Tommy entered the suite. What happened next would change everything. Prosecutors later reconstructed the scene. Sheila confronted Tommy about his relationship with her daughter. The fight escalated. In a fit of rage, Tommy grabbed a glass fruit bowl and struck Sheila repeatedly. Heather, rather than intervening, stood by. When Sheila collapsed, she did not call for help. Together, Heather and Tommy stuffed Sheila's body into a large suitcase. Hours later, they dragged the heavy luggage through the hotel lobby, struggling to maneuver it onto a waiting taxi. Then comes the taxi driver's suspicion. The taxi driver, waiting outside in the humid night air, grew uneasy. The couple had promised to return, but as the hours passed, something felt wrong. The suitcase in his trunk was unusually heavy, and when he glanced back, he thought he saw stains on the fabric. Finally, he contacted police. What they found would shock the world. Inside the suitcase was Sheila's lifeless body, bloodied and broken, packed like cargo. Then comes the arrest. Heather and Tommy fled to a budget hotel, trying to blend in with other tourists. But their movements were sloppy. Within 24 hours, Indonesian police tracked them down. Both were arrested and brought in for questioning. Heather appeared cold, detached, even smirking at times. Tommy insisted he had acted in self-defense. Investigators uncovered text messages between Heather and Tommy that suggested planning. They also found surveillance footage of Tommy buying bleach and plastic bags. Then trial by fire. The trial in Bali quickly became a media circus. American and British journalists flocked to the courthouse. Headlines branded Heather as the Bali suitcase killer. Inside court, Heather giggled, whispered to Tommy, and at times acted as though the proceedings were a game. Prosecutors painted her as manipulative, motivated by greed. If Sheila died, Heather stood to inherit millions. Defense attorneys tried to argue abuse, suggesting Heather had long suffered under her mother's control. But the evidence told another story. In April 2015, the court delivered its verdict. Tommy Schaefer, 18 years in prison. Heather Mack, 10 years. Life behind the bar. Heather was sent to Carabocan prison, one of Indonesia's most notorious jails. Overcrowded, corrupt, and dangerous, it was no place for a young American woman. But Heather adapted. She gave birth to her daughter, Stella, inside prison. For years, the child lived with her mother behind bars. Fellow inmates recalled Heather showing little remorse, sometimes bragging about her notoriety. Tommy, too, adjusted to prison life, though his sentence stretched nearly twice as long. Release and return. In October 2021, Heather was released early for good behavior after serving just 7 years. She was deported back to the United States. But her freedom was short-lived. The moment she landed in Chicago, U.S. federal agents arrested her. This time, she faced charges of conspiracy to kill her mother, broad charges that could keep her in prison for decades. Her daughter, Stella, was placed with relatives. Fallout and legacy. The murder shocked not only Indonesia, but also America and Britain, where the case was covered relentlessly. To many, it symbolized the dark side of privilege, a daughter who had everything, yet chose greed and betrayal. Sheila's friends mourned her as a woman who gave everything to her daughter, only to be repaid with violence. For the true crime world, the Suitcase Murder became one of the most infamous family betrayals of the last decade. In the end, the story of Heather Mack and Sheila von Wiese-Mack is not just about murder. It's about the collapse of trust between parent and child. It's about love twisted into control, and control twisted into rage. And it's about how one night in paradise ended in horror, leaving a child without a mother, a grandmother, or a future untouched by tragedy. The Suitcase Murder remains a chilling reminder. Sometimes, the deadliest betrayals come not from strangers, but from the people closest to us. If you found this story compelling, stay tuned for more true crime cases where we uncover the darkest sides of human nature. Kindly give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this page, and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever we post a story like this. See you in my next episode.